Everyone wants to have the best deer and turkey hunting possible. We all want big deer, giant flocks of turkeys, big, beautiful food plots, and the best bedding around. We want to make sure that we have the highest chance possible every time we step foot on our properties to hunt. Seeing deer every single time we hunt is a blessing that not many people get to experience. So we start improving our properties, trying to chase that dream. There is a lot of information out there for us to learn from. Some of it is really good science-based information. Some of it is just downright wrong, and others exist purely to sell us products. Which brings us to this week's video sponsor. Just kidding. But one thing's for certain, if you make some specific mistakes, it can either take a long time to correct, or you'll spend a lot of extra money and hard work trying to fix it. You may even make your property much harder to hunt. So in this video, we're gonna go over 3 of the biggest mistakes that new land managers make so you can get started on this habitat management journey on the right foot and reach that dream hunting property a lot sooner. But before we go over these mistakes, do me a favor, and if this is your first time on my channel, hit that subscribe button. Make sure you click that bell icon so you can be notified every time I upload a video. One guy actually got mad that I did this in the beginning of the video. I mean, don't you have better things to complain about? And the first mistake that you need to avoid happens before you even pick up a chainsaw, and that is failing to have any sort of plan whatsoever. If you don't have a plan on how you're gonna improve the property, you could spend a lot of time running around in circles and not really improving anything. You might do a little of this over here and a little of that over there. You'll probably plant some food plots. You'll definitely overuse some hinge cuts, and then you'll wonder why your hunting hasn't gotten any better, or maybe is even worse. Having a plan not only helps you identify what needs to get done and where, but it also helps you identify the order of operations that you need to do these things in. Some things just have to be done before others to avoid having a giant problem on your hands, like invasive species control. Everybody's gonna have at least some invasive species to deal with on their property, some a lot more than others. If you've even got just some invasive species on your property and you start opening that canopy, you are gonna have a much larger problem on your hands. One of the best things you can do to help the hunting on your property is to start putting in some bedding thickets. But if you don't have a plan, you don't think out exactly where these things need to go, with hunting in mind, you can end up making it impossible to hunt because you can't get through there without being detected. So really plan out that habitat work so you know what needs to get done first, and so you make sure you actually complete it before you move on to something else. If you are having trouble figuring out what that first step should be, my very loose general rule of thumb is to try to take care of invasives first, then do bedding thickets, because I think cover is the most important part of hunting success, and you can feel free to try to change my mind down in the comments, but you probably won't. And then worry about your food plots. Now, that doesn't mean you can't try to do some of all 3 in the same season, but at least try to start with invasive species so you don't create a much larger mess. And if you still are having trouble trying to decide what you should do not be afraid to hire a consultant, whether that's you actually pay for a habitat consultant to come out, or if you just use your state agency to come out, get another set of eyes on there to help you sort out your thoughts. You can very easily develop analysis paralysis with as much information that's out there. In one of my last videos, I suggested maybe hiring a consultant, and somebody told me he was going to unsubscribe because I suggested that people waste money on a habitat consultant. And while I will partially agree that sometimes a habitat consultant is a waste of money, but not all of them are. If this person is only telling you to plant some food plots or put in some fruit trees or something like that, they're probably a waste of money. Stay away from them. But if you can get somebody out there that really knows what your goal is, whether you're concerned with habitat management and timber value, or maybe your first priority is timber value, or maybe you've got cattle you're running on there, find somebody that's gonna keep your goals in mind, that's not just thinking food plots and all of that flashy crap that doesn't really amount to anything. And the second mistake that new land managers make is confusing high stem count with high quality cover. A lot of new land managers will think that just because a big patch of cedars is real thick, that it equals good quality cover, and that couldn't be further from the truth. Think of it like this: just because a homeless man sleeps in a box under the bridge doesn't mean it's a good place to live. It just means that that's the best he's got. Dog hair thick doesn't mean just a bunch of trees growing close together, especially if those are cedars and they're self-pruning so they look like a bunch of broomsticks out there. Good cover is thick from 5 feet and down. That's where deer spend all their time, and deer don't need overhead cover. I don't know where you're hunting, but I don't think there are pterodactyls anymore. A good high stem count means that there is a lot of bunch grass grasses and forbs and brambles and woody sprouts and all kinds of stuff growing up to where deer can lay down in, still catch the warming rays of the sun, but it also blocks the wind. And you just need to look at what makes up good cover in your area, because it's going to differ, kind of where your climate is. What's great cover up north in Minnesota, Michigan is going to be different than what's good high quality cover down in Georgia. Start opening up the canopy and thinning out the mid-story to allow this regeneration to happen, and you will have the best bedding in the neighborhood. Let all the other hunters sit around those thick cedar patches wondering where all the deer are. And the third mistake that new land managers make is they are not putting enough effort into learning tree species or plant identification at all. If you do not know what tree species it is that you are cutting down, you probably shouldn't be cutting it. How would you know if that tree species would be more beneficial if left standing, or if allowed to resprout, or if it should be stump treated to never return? What about if this specific species is a non-native invasive? What would be the best way to get rid of it? If you don't know what it is, you could be doing a lot more harm than good. Now, you don't need to be a botanist or a forester or anything like that to be able to identify trees or plant species. Just commit. New land managers should just commit to learning 5 new tree species or 5 new forbs or 5 new grasses every year. It doesn't take much, and even that little bit of knowledge will set you above everybody else. Just get yourself one of these tree identification books, or maybe one of these. This is upside down. Get yourself some identification books like this one for trees. Actually, I found a better one than this for trees, and I'll link that down in the description below. But you could also get something like this that has all of the native wildflowers in Missouri, and it's got a lot of great pictures to help you identify these things. It's color coded, so you can look by the, can you even see that? So you can even look by the color of the flower that's on it, and it makes it so much easier. There's even a free app called iNaturalist that allows you to take a picture of any plant and give you a pretty accurate identification. From there, you can learn whether or not you need to promote it or kill it, whether or not this tree's got good browse value. Would it be good for hinge cutting? Does it have good mast benefits for wildlife? Commit to always learning something new about the farm that you hunt on and what grows there, and you will be miles ahead of the competition. So that was 3 mistakes that new land managers make and how you can avoid them. If you've got any more mistakes you'd like to share, some things you've experienced, leave those down in the comments below. You may just save somebody else the headache that you've had to deal with. And if you like this video, chances are you're gonna like one of these videos over here, so make sure you give one of those a watch and let me know what you think. Hit that like button if you like this video, share it if you found it helpful, and make sure that you are subscribed so you can stay informed.